Welcome to Rebel Chaser. My name is Gail, and I have a video for you from Judge Brunlich in Michigan. And I don't want to give anything away here other than to say this mom would drive me insane. So I don't want to say too much. I'll let you guys watch.
Record, this matter is before the court for the purpose of reviewing parenting time. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. The present is the plaintiff mother, Danielle Whitaker. In addition, attorney Timothy Churchill is present, representing the defendant, father Brian Jansen. Mr. Jansen is present. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This matter is before the court on the defendant's motion to modify parenting time. When the parties were last in court, the court.
Your Honor, I am so sorry. I cannot hear you at all.
I'm sorry.
It's so soft. I cannot hear anything.
Okay, I'll adjust this microphone. Maybe you can turn up your volume on your phone. I'm not sure. I wasn't aware that there was any issues this morning. In any event, this matter is before the court on the defendant father's motion to modify parenting time. When the parties were last before the court on September 4th, the court ordered that the minor child be interviewed by Ms. Pratt this morning, and then the parties appear later this morning for a review of that issue. Appears that we lost Ms. Whitaker. Oh, Ms. Whitaker, yes. Can you hear the court?
Yes, I'm here. I just had to stop my video so that I can have the phone up to my ear. I can hear everything you're saying. I just cannot hear when it's not up to my ear. I'm so sorry.
Okay, but yeah, definitely stop and interrupt me if in fact you cannot hear.
Okay, I will. I can hear you perfectly now. I just can't see.
Okay, that's fine as long as we can communicate.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Pratt, obviously, we have a 12-year-old child here, Mr. Pratt. Presumably interviewed Evan this morning.
Yes, Your Honor, I did. I had the pleasure of meeting with him this morning.
Okay. Mr. Pratt, do you have a recommendation for the court? There's some in the queue which says motion change parenting time, and it's blank after that.
The bottom, the very last part where the notes are, it says motion to change parenting time be denied. My recommendation is we leave things as they are today, Your Honor.
Okay. The copy of the recommendation of the court's queue does not have the words be denied.
Let me get that fixed. I apologize.
So obviously, Mr. Pratt, having interviewed Evan, has determined that it's best interest of Evan that the parenting time continue as previously ordered and that it not be modified at this point in time. Presumably, Ms. Whitaker is agreeable with that recommendation. Mr. Churchill.
Well, my client, Your Honor, is not agreeable with it. I know the front of the court felt before having two additional half siblings was not any change of circumstances when I asserted otherwise. I know right now our concern is this. I mean, the parties had a history of joint legal physical, school started. My client's at 143 days now. There have been no problems with the week on, week off through the summer. That's what my client really feels. However, this 11-day stretch has to go without seeing the child. It's a long time, and the child has complained before. I won't get to see it for almost 2 weeks. And this is a father that's involved with the child's life, and that gap in there on that extra week, he right now has every Friday afternoon through Monday morning, the first 3 weekends of the month, and it's that last week that results in an 11-day break before he gets to see the child at all. And we weren't seeking any reduction in support or anything, just an extra day or two, or to get part of that other weekend. She has them all week during the weeks, and I think there is a change in circumstances when you bring into a new relationship that the child bonds with and likes to see and has a good relationship with. And I've made more, and we still stand on those issues there too. So.
All right, thank you, Mr. Churchill. But obviously, Mr. Jansen can go to a cross-country or track meet and see his son, can he not?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
he
I
does that
have.
occasionally, but he,
Across the hall.
Mr. Churchill, maybe you should come back in the courtroom. You're breaking up. Your reception is very bad. If you're across the hall, if you want to come into the courtroom, it'd be much easier to communicate.
yeah, I can do that, Your Honor. I am right across the hall. Okay.
All right, Mr. Churchill is in the courtroom. Perhaps it can be much easier to communicate. The question the court had is Mr. Jansen always can see his son when he practices or participates in cross-country or track meets.
Yes, Your Honor.
Turn around the microphone, please, Sarah.
Part of the problem, if he goes to the child's events and it's on mom's days, child's afraid to come over and see father.
Well, he's got to talk with him. I mean, it's a 12-year-old. This is not a 6-year-old child. And obviously, let's assume there's changed circumstances. Any court, Ms. Pratt is very experienced working with young people. This is a 12-year-old. This is not a 6-year-old child. So we're going to put a lot of weight in that child's input. And obviously, Ms. Pratt has interviewed this child. And obviously, this recommendation is based on input she's received from this child, notwithstanding what dad wants or mom wants.
Your Honor.
So the only question the court had, Ms. Whitaker, is what about some additional time? And yes, the school year is important. We need consistency during the school year. What about maybe an overnight during the 4th week after cross country is concluded, but before track begins? There's a period of time. Evan does not play any winter sports, correct? He just runs cross country in the fall and track in the spring. Is that correct?
As of now, Your Honor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, as of now, he has mentioned that he wants to do art club, which starts in the fall. But Your Honor, I would like to ask Mr. Churchill if he is aware that Brian is not spending his weekend time with Evan that he has currently. And I have all of the dates here that just since we were at court 2 weeks ago and you, Your Honor, told Brian that he needs to start attending Evan's events, correct? Even on his parenting time, Brian chose to not attend, he missed 9 hours with Evan. Did not come to his homecoming parade, had his parents pick him up, take him home, missed an hour and a half Friday. The very next day, Saturday the 14th, that was Brian's parenting day, had his parents pick him up at 10 a.m., took him to his race till after 4 p.m., gave him no sunblock and no food for the day, missed 6 hours with Evan. And then the following Saturday, the 20th, missed another hour and a half with Evan. That's all his parenting time. So can we get an answer out of Brian as to why he is still not attending Evan's events, even on his parenting time? I don't feel that giving him more time.
It's a legitimate question.
My client has a lot of responsibilities with other children. He's also a karate instructor. He works full time. I can't explain. I mean, he's always cared for the child when he has a child, and what he really does on his time is really his own business, not hers, as long as it's not harming the child. We don't micromanage everything she does.
This is parenting time. We're talking about parenting time. We're not talking about his karate time. We're talking about parenting time with Evan.
Well, when she has her parenting time, she usually sticking the kid in a room with the games.
Okay, well, that's a legitimate question. Do you want Mr. Jansen to respond to that, or you just respond on his behalf in terms of it's his time, he can do what he wants, he doesn't have to spend time with Evan if he doesn't want to during his parenting time?
I think he could answer that better than I could.
Okay. Mr. Jansen, do you want to respond to Ms. Whitaker?
Yes. So I do my best with spending the time with Evan. I know recently I've had a few issues with, for example, my car I had in the shop, and I made it a point to make sure that Evan had transportation to his race and back from his race. I do spend time with him when he's on my time. It'd be ideal to be able to have more opportunities to spend with him on my time, which is why I think the week on, week off would be the most ideal and has historically worked for us. And also, the plaintiff has complained on record that of her disinterest in the schedule regarding the lack of time she gets with Evan during the school week, saying that she, quote, is doing all the brunt of school. And then has also complained about the not having times on weekends uninterrupted by the school routine. So she's complaining about doing the brunt of schoolwork, and then also, but then on the other hand, is refusing a schedule that is mutually beneficial for both parties and is looking out for Evan's best interest. Not to mention all the other aspects that we have presented to the court as far as why the schedule would be in his best interest. Not only taking into account Evan's what he had told me back then, but also all the other things that I had presented that we had presented to the court before. But I do enjoy spending time with them. I do try my best to spend the time I can with them and make sure he gets to his events if I, for some reason, am not able to. Like, for example, I had car issues with my car. I wanted to make sure I get that taken care of. And I wanted to make sure that he got up to his events and that he came back. This does not at all make me a unfit parent like the plaintiff is trying to paint the picture of me, nor has there been any accusations that my having parenting time or additional parenting time would endanger the child's physical, mental, or emotional health.
No question. No one's suggesting you're an unfit parent. No one's suggesting you're an unfit parent. You're a good parent. The question is, are you going to his cross-country practices and matches?
Yes, I have gone to them.
Okay. All right. Miss
Brian, Evan had 6 events. Evan has 6 events recently. Brian has gone to 1. And I'm sorry, but I do understand having car trouble, but when his parents, Brian's mom and dad, are coming to Brian's house to pick Evan up per Brian's request, why can't he ride with them and go to the events? I don't think that's the issue. I really don't. There's no reason.
Here's the other aspect, that while he is on my time, if I choose to have him ride up there with my parents, that is how I'm choosing to do it.
Okay, but when you're taking me to court for more time and you were...
Okay, hold on. Okay, we're denigrating to an argument. We're not getting an argument here. It's a legitimate question. Obviously, it's fine with your parents picking Evan up, but obviously if they're taking to an event, you should be at that event. If in fact you want more parenting time, this is not grandparent parenting time. This is parenting time for the parents. Mr. Whitaker, Mr. Jansen, Ms. Whitaker, the court just had one question. What about, obviously, this is a school year. The summer parenting time will continue week on, week off, but the school year is Evan's got a lot of activities, and we don't want to interfere with those activities. What about the fourth week of the month when between cross country and track? What's your thoughts of maybe dad having maybe a Wednesday overnight during that fourth week?
I would like to acknowledge what Brian just said about me. I am not complaining about doing the brunt work. Clearly, given my presence, I attend everything for our child. Everything. I have missed 1 event in 4 years. 1.
The question, I don't see this diatribe.
Miss Whitaker?
I am not in agreement. Yes.
What about dad having?
I am not.
What's your thoughts about dad having parenting? Hold on. Let me just repeat the question again. Maybe you can answer the question. What do you think of dad? I'm just trying to see if there's some middle ground here. What do you think of dad having Evan on the overnight on the 4th week of the month between cross country and track during the winter months?
I feel with that Evan was interviewed today. He said I'm assuming.
I'm asking you, Mom. I'm asking you. You know better than anyone. The two of you are the parents of Evan.
Yes, sir. And I feel
know that Ms. LaPrade has interviewed Evan. I know that. You don't need to tell me that, ma'am. The court's question is, what's your opinion? Are you opposed to dad having parenting time, say the 4th Wednesday of the week, the month?
I am opposed to it.
Cross country and track.
Yes, I am opposed to it, given that he is not currently spending the time he has with him. Maybe if that changes, we can revisit this in 6 months. But for right now, I think it's in Evan's best interest to keep the schedule the same.
Right, Mr. Churchill, anything further?
Again, that 11 days is a big gap. File this motion. I really question her sincerity in working with him. All she seems to do is always extremely critical of everything he does, tries to micromanage everything he does. And I've got emails from the past where, quote, I will never work with you with our child.
That was
child
the
should determine
past.
his own parenting schedule. And a lot of that, I don't think has changed. I don't see any harm to giving him one extra night during that period. She still has more time than he does. And it's not going to interfere with her weekend. And it'll just lessen that gap that he has to go without seeing him. That's almost 2 weeks.
Currently, Dad
Okay.
takes him to school on Monday morning, correct?
Yes.
How long a drive is that? All right. All right, the court's going to modify the recommendation of Mr. Pratt. And they recognizing obviously Mr. Pratt put significant weight in Evans' opinions, but the court will permit to grant father parenting time on Wednesday overnights on the 4th week of the month between cross country and track seasons. So when cross country is done, Evan will spend the 4th Wednesday of the month with his dad overnight until track begins.
Okay, if
Give it
that's
a
the
try.
case, then I do
Problems,
have,
Ms. Whitaker, you can petition saying, hey, this is not working. Evan's it's creating a lot of problems for Evan. But I've not heard that that's going to create a significant problem for him. And Mr. Jansen, you need to spend time with him on those Wednesdays. You can't be off doing something on your own and going, now, do you have karate on Wednesday nights, the 4th Wednesday of the month?
I do not.
Okay. If so, he should have Evan as part of that karate class. You got to spend time with him. This is parent time for you.
oh, sorry, I can't hear.
Right.
Go ahead, Ms. Whitaker.
My opinion to that with doing the 4th Wednesday is that we make it optional to Evan. I do not have a problem with that if that is what Evan wants to do. But I think that it should be optional going into his teenage years. And I only say this because in the past, let's say that Evan is sick. Let's say Evan is sick on a Wednesday and he doesn't want to go. Is Brian going to make him get out of bed and go? And if he doesn't, is he going to call the cops on me like he has in the past? We do not have good history of that.
Evan is a minor, Ms. Whitaker. He's a minor. He doesn't make these decisions. And so if in fact he doesn't want to go, he's got to tell his dad that. He's got to tell his dad he does not want to go. Hopefully dad will talk with him and give him some respect in terms of his opinion. But that's something that Evan's got to discuss with his dad.
Your Honor, I do have some concern
If
about
there's some
that.
problems, someone can petition the court, but the court to modify the school year parenting time by continuing the 1st, 2nd, 3rd weekends with dad, Friday at 6 till school on Monday morning. But after cross country ends, before track begins, dad will have during that window, the 4th Wednesday of the month.
So it's only during non-extracurricular activities, correct?
No, it's between cross country and track. If he's got extracurricular in the wintertime, the dad's got to make sure he gets him there.
That's what I was going to say. So let's say
extracurricular
Evan wants to
activity.
do art club. He has to take him to that if it's on a Wednesday.
Well, we have an order that both parents have to agree on activities because she used to sign up unilaterally for everything.
Okay, I don't know. Is there such an order?
There's an order in place. The parents have to agree to the activity.
Okay, I'm not going to have the parties coming back every month. Mr. Jansen, are you opposed to Evan and engaging in art class or art activity, extracurricular?
I am not opposed to that.
All right. So if the court's going on right now, I don't want to care if you're proposed later on. If in fact he decides to participate in an art club and that's on Wednesday, he's got to make sure that you get him to and from that. All right.
And then I think if that's the case, we can also go ahead and split up the therapy. Evan goes to therapy every 2 weeks. So Brian, is he in agreement to take Evan to one of his therapies?
Why don't you schedule a day other than the Wednesday?
I'm sorry?
Is therapy scheduled every Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay, was it the 1st and 3rd Wednesday, the 1st and 4th Wednesday? What
2nd and
Wednesday of
4th.
the month is his counseling?
It's the 2nd and 4th Wednesday.
All right, so yes, well, that's again, yes, Mr. So he obviously is not going to engage in art club on Wednesdays if he's got counseling, correct, Ms. Whitaker?
It would just depend. I don't know what the art schedule is. He doesn't do his therapy until evening hours. She usually sees him at about 6 o'clock because she does evening hours with him. So if he did art club, it would be till like 3 or 4, and then he would have therapy like 6 to 7.
All right.
Okay.
So if that's when therapy is scheduled, Mr. Jansen, you take Evan to therapy. It's probably a good chance for the two of you to talk to and from therapy.
Well, and I've also let the plaintiff know that, hey, I can take him to any one of these appointments. However, she has historically scheduled them on times when she had him. So I've made myself available to take him to those. And it's only this month that he had them every Wednesday. Before there were Tuesdays and sometimes Mondays. But it looks like lately they just this month he had them on Wednesday. So.
And if that Wednesday counseling interferes with his art club, then the two of you as parents should try to modify that so that he can do both.
Right.
Okay.
And this is the first thing I've ever heard
to hold your hand
talk
in every
about
little
art club.
detail of his life. The two of you need to communicate, work together, and make sure he can do both.
And then we will need
And
to discuss so that it's in a court order, because I don't want any fighting when it comes of it. So if he's doing the last Wednesday overnight, if there is no school on Wednesday, are we in agreement that what are we doing about that? Because I have to work. I can't just be available to have you pick him up at 2:30 in the afternoon. So we could do 4:30. If there's no school that last Wednesday, you can pick him up at 4:30. Unless otherwise communicated, I guess put that in a court order. And then also, what are we doing if there's no school Thursday? Is dad dropping him back off at mom's at 9 a.m., same as we do on Monday? These are all things that we're going to have to communicate about in advance.
yes, unlike this art club that I'm just now learning about.
It's not even established yet.
Mr. LaPrade, can you talk to these parties? I've got some jails waiting for me right now.
Okay.
Mr. Churchill, if you want
Yes,
to
Your Honor.
communicate with Mr. Pratt about, yes, it's a legitimate question if in fact there's no school pick up and drop off times. The question is jail arraignments right now, so I'm going to have to talk to Mr. Pratt and we'll call you in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Coming back across line, I got jails waiting for me right now. 1:15. Okay.
Recalling the matter of Danielle Brian Jansen.
Very well, the parties having discussed arrangements to exchange the minor child when there's school, when there's not school. So Mr. Pratt has provided the revised recommendation that parenting time will remain as currently ordered. However, one slight modification: on the 4th week of the month, fathers should have Wednesday overnights between the cross-country and track seasons. Pick up from school, and if no school, 5 o'clock pickup. If there's no school, father will drop off Thursday morning at 9 a.m. There's no school on Thursday. That is revised recommendation. Yes, obviously, if Evan has art class, if he has counseling on Wednesdays, Mr. Jansen, you need to make sure you transport him to those activities, and hopefully he can participate in those activities, be a part of his life. Ms. Whitaker, do you understand the revised recommendation this morning?
I do. And Your Honor, your statement just now about therapy, while we were on our break, Mr. Churchill did not realize that I was still in the breakout room, and he just now said to Brian that he can contact the therapist and get the date changed so that he doesn't have to take Evan to therapy, that I have no right to schedule Evan's therapy on Brian's time for that Wednesday. So I would like to suggest, I think it's only fair to split the therapy. If Brian, the only reason, like if Evan's doing therapy during the week, and he has the opportunity to split that with Evan, then I feel that we should do so. Do we need to go ahead and put that in a court order?
So it's really a shame you parents cannot agree on whether today is Monday or Friday, whether it's wintertime or fall. Come on.
Okay, so I guess I could ask Brian.
I've already provided my my feedback about that. That I have been more than willing, and I have text messages to back up as evidence that I have suggested, like, hey, I can take him to those. But
okay,
like I said,
so if it's right now scheduled for Wednesdays, it'll continue on Wednesdays.
So Brian, you are in agreement to take Evan to his therapy?
Yes, and if in fact it's but if someone changed it, come back to court. You guys can keep coming back to court, and we'll keep fighting every week. All right? That will conclude this hearing. The two of you need to, as parents, do
Your
what's
Honor,
best for Evan.
Your Honor, that
Try
was
to make
going
work
to
for
be
each other.
Your Honor,
So,
Ms.
Mr.
LaPratt asked me to speak with you because I wanted a court order for that there has got to be communication between parties before continuing filing motions to come to court. There has got to be communication.
Well, the two of you just seem incapable of doing that.
Ms. LaPratt also said that I could ask you for family therapy suggestions. Is there co-parenting therapy, family therapy? Because clearly the online course didn't work because there's still no prior communication before coming to court. So can we please put that in an order? There has to be communication before filing a motion.
Well, you're communicating by app close, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, that's reasonable. So two of you shall communicate with each other via app close before you file a motion.
Thank you.
Your Honor, there has also been historic where the plaintiff has also not done that as well. As like
We're going to do that from this point forward, Mr. Jansen. From this point forward, we're going to do that. You text, you communicate with each other before you file a motion.
Thank you.
From this point forward. And you check with the therapist. Yes, if in fact, for example, if Evan, just makes common sense, if Evan has art club on Wednesdays and that's going to interfere with his counseling, talk with the counselor about changing it, a different day of the week. I mean, so it should probably stay Wednesdays if that's what's been happening. Continue the Wednesdays unless his art club interferes with that.
And like I said, that art club is not even set in stone. Evan had mentioned wanting to do it.
Okay.
It's not even until October. That's why nothing has been said. But Evan is almost 13. If he wants to do something, he should be able to talk to his dad about it. I don't need to relay, you know what I mean? Like I had every intention of telling Brian in October, hey, Evan wants to do this art club, but it's still the middle of September. That's the only reason it hasn't been discussed yet. Trust me, I'm very aware that we have to communicate about extracurriculars. And I have been communicating with Brian about therapy appointments. So this is what I'm talking about as far as I wish we could get into some therapy because every response from Brian is, well, historically that, we are not in the past anymore. So I am trying to move forward. So Your Honor, do you have any suggestions for some co-parenting therapy or family therapy? I don't know what to do for the next 5 years. We still have 5 more years. And at this rate, you're going to see us another 10 times in court because it doesn't stop.
And I'm sure I've had you both complete the problem solving workshop. That obviously didn't, neither of you benefit from that. But again, the court will simply add this recommendation this morning that you should communicate with the other before you file any motion.
Okay, thank you.
I also strongly implore the courts to review the parties' communication even after that, because there's still jabs being sent from the plaintiff that are not solely goal focused on Evan and his best interest. So I would strongly implore the court to review those kind of communications as well. So.
Anything further, Mr. Churchill? All right, that will conclude this hearing. You can both zoom out. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. If you can just add that one provision that party shall communicate with the other before filing any motions.
Yes, sir. I'll get that uploaded and in your queue.
Does that also include contempt of court?
There's enough challenges in life, Mr. Jansen, Ms. Whitaker. Try to make it easy for each other or better for each other. There's enough challenges in life. Don't make it more complicated.
I've done my best. And even like with the whole tax return, I even try to resolve it outside of court. And I told her, like, this is what needs to happen. And it only took me taking her to court in order for that to happen. So I'm not purposely trying to aggravate. I'm not purposely trying to take people to court. But when I'm trying to resolve things outside of court, it's not happening.
Miss Whitaker has left court, so
the one thing that really struck me is Mom really acts like this child is her child, not their child, but her child, and she gets the largest say. What she says is what goes, unless the judge changes it. And it just seemed like any time that Dad gets with his child is time that Mom allows him to have out of the goodness of her heart, right? That's just sort of the impression I get. The second thing is, she wants to nitpick and micromanage every moment of parenting time that dad has. But she threw in at the end that she has to work. So there's times when the child gets out of school and she's not out of work yet. Well, what about that gap there? Why isn't she spending that time with him? Because she's got a prior commitment. And it's okay for her to have that, but it's not okay for dad to have the same. That's really wrong. And she doesn't think anything of that. She thinks that the time that she's allowed dad to have, he must spend every waking possible moment with him. Even though the time that she has her child, she is not spending every possible waking moment with him. It just doesn't seem fair to me. And I think it's really good for this boy to be with his grandparents. That's a very important time too. It's bonding time with the family. It's good for him. I wasn't around my grandparents. My grandparents lived back east. All of them did. And I lived on the West Coast. I never got to see my grandparents, and I miss them tremendously. Especially the older I get, the more I miss them. So anyway, it just seems very one-sided. I'm glad dad is able to spend a little bit more time with him. And it just seems like mom wants to micromanage everything. And that just doesn't seem right. She would drive me nuts, especially because she wants to bring up every possible scenario. You know, what if this happens? What if that happens? But what about this? What if? Oh my gosh. That would drive me crazy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.